Day 9, Diddy trial, Ice Cube shatters the courtroom. The courtroom in Lower Manhattan was packed. Day 9 of the Diddy trial was already expected to be intense, but nothing could have prepared anyone for what happened next. We'd already heard from big names, Cassie, Will Smith, and Monique. Each added their piece to the puzzle. But then, the unexpected happened. Ice Cube walked in. Not with an entourage. Not for the cameras. He came in quiet, but commanding. In his hand, a folder. Not just paper. Evidence. Names. Connections. Audio files. Documents. The energy in the room changed instantly. It didn't matter if you were press, jury, or legal counsel. Everyone felt it. The silence was immediate. And in that moment, a chilling realization hit. This trial was no longer just about Diddy. What Ice Cube brought forward didn't just shine a light on one man, it cracked open an entire system. A structure built to protect the powerful, and punish anyone who stepped out of line. The system exposed. This wasn't about music. Not about money. Not even about fame. It was about control. Cube's voice was steady as he spoke. Not like a celebrity. Not like a rapper. He sounded like a man who'd carried something dark for a long time, and had finally had enough. "You all think I was ever part of their inner circle," he said, locking eyes with the jury. That's what pissed them off the most. The room froze. And then he said it. They don't invite you in because they like you. They invite you in so they can control you. The club. Cube started naming it, the club. That quiet, smiling circle in the entertainment industry no one openly talks about. The ones who run things from behind the curtain. The gatekeepers. The power brokers. Cube explained how it worked. They give you a taste of success. A few red carpets. A role. A sponsorship. And then, the test begins. Do what you're told. Sign what you're told. Smile when you're told. And if you push back, if you say no, you don't just get blacklisted. You get erased. Diddy, the enforcer. Cube didn't hesitate. He turned toward Diddy, who by now looked visibly rattled, and said, he wasn't just part of the circle. He was pulling the strings. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Even the judge sat back for a moment, stunned. Cube kept going. They plant stories. Cancel meetings. Make calls you never hear. But you feel every one of them. The Jamie Foxx connection. Then came the next bombshell. You want to know why I'm here? Cube said, his voice low but firm. Because they tried to break someone I respect. Jamie Foxx. Reporters stopped typing. Heads turned. Cube described how it started, friendly invites, strange calls, secret parties. They praised Jamie, elevated him, but only as long as he followed the script. Then came the pressure. Then the rumors. Cube said Jamie confided in him, quietly, with fear in his voice. They treat you like family, until you stop playing along. Then the silence speaks louder than anything. Cube described the infamous private basketball parties. Black SUVs. No phone rules. Odd guests. It wasn't about basketball, it was about seeing who would obey. The collapse. When Jamie stopped playing along, the shift was brutal. Suddenly, he's difficult. Suddenly, he's unwell, Cube said. His name vanished from headlines. Instead, he started appearing in shady gossip blogs. And then came 2023. The medical emergency. The silence. That wasn't just about health, Cube said. That was a warning. And he didn't stop there. Cube claimed Diddy's inner circle recorded these parties, without consent, and used the footage as leverage. They built files. Blackmail. Insurance. People didn't even know they were being filmed. Jamie once called him afterward. He couldn't say much, Cube recalled, but what he did say. It chilled me. Cube. I can't talk about it. But I can't unsee it either. And then, Oprah. Just when the courtroom couldn't get quieter, Cube dropped another name. Oprah. He said Jamie once got a call, right before his biggest Oscar moment, after Ray. But it wasn't a congratulatory call. According to Cube, she told Jamie. You're blowing it. Jamie was stunned. He thought she was calling in support. But that call marked a shift. It was a message, get back in line. And we're just getting started. What Ice Cube revealed wasn't just testimony, it was a detonation. Of a myth. Of a machine. Of an entire world built behind velvet ropes and studio lights. Outside the courtroom, headlines exploded. Inside, even the judge looked like he needed a moment to catch his breath. And Cube? Calm. Steady. Focused. Because he wasn't done yet. To be continued. Who's next? How far does the circle go? And what happens when someone like Ice Cube refuses to stay silent? Day 10 is coming. And the masks are falling. Ice Cube testifies, the silence is broken. She told him to pull himself together. Then she said she was going to introduce him to someone who could help. That someone was Quincy Jones. Cube didn't need to explain who Quincy was. Everyone in Hollywood knows. On the surface, he's a legend, Cube said. But behind the scenes, he's feared. Oprah brought Jamie to Quincy's mansion. But it wasn't a celebration. It wasn't support. It wasn't even advice. It felt like training, Jamie later told Cube. Like I was being prepped for something. He never fully explained what happened that night. But the look in his eyes when he tried to, that told Cube everything. Oprah called it responsibility. Quincy called it legacy. But what they really gave him was a leash. After that meeting, Jamie started to change. Not because he wanted to. Because he had to. Cube recalled Jamie telling him. The only way to survive in this game is to pretend. And Cube said he watched him pretend, for years. But now, nobody's pretending anymore. Cube leaned back in the witness chair. Calm. Dead serious. Then he said it. Quincy Jones ain't just a producer. He's the godfather. The courtroom froze. He turned to the judge. This isn't gossip, he said. This is truth. And it needs to be on the record. He described Quincy as a man revered in public but feared in private. A man whose power didn't just come from talent, it came from leverage. You don't get that powerful without making deals, Cube said. And I'm not talking music deals. I'm talking soul trades. Jamie's meeting with Quincy wasn't a coincidence. It was a handoff, from one handler to the next. Cube, that wasn't guidance, Jamie had once whispered. That was instruction. According to Cube, Quincy wrapped it in mentorship, but Jamie felt the truth. It felt like I was being processed, he said. Not helped, processed. And Jamie wasn't alone. Cube said he'd heard similar stories. Other men in the industry, gifted, bright, full of potential, who suddenly vanished. Public breakdowns. Career shifts. Something changed them, and they were never the same again. Quincy's charm might be the mask, Cube said. But the message was the same as Diddy's, do what you're told, or you won't work again. Then he dropped something darker. Cube said he'd seen photos. Private ones. Passed around in secret, never meant to exist. And in every one of them, Quincy was there. Smiling. But the others in those pictures? They weren't. I can't confirm everything, Cube said. But I can confirm this, Quincy isn't just a mentor. He's a middleman. And the ones he answers to? We still don't know their names. Then he stood straighter. His voice dropped low. You want to know how they keep people quiet? It's not just fear. It's blackmail. He looked toward the prosecution. Diddy's power wasn't just in his money, Cube said. It was in the secrets. The footage. The files. The tapes. Collected over decades, from parties, studios, jets. Organized. Saved. Weaponized. They don't just invite you to party, he said. They record you at those parties. Then Cube dropped a question that cracked the courtroom. You want to know why so many stayed silent? Ask how many got a flash drive in the mail. Ask how many got a blocked call playing audio of something they didn't even remember. And Jamie? He wasn't the only one. Cube said he knew 2 other actors who had attended Diddy's events. One of them called him, terrified. Said he blacked out past midnight. Woke up in a hotel room. And there was a contract on the table. Cube had been talking about others, Jamie. Quincy. The system. But now, he turned the spotlight on himself. I went to one of those parties, he said. Just once. It was the early 2000s. No invite. No flyer. Just a name, a time, and a black SUV waiting outside his hotel. They called it a networking night. That's what they always call it. The car drove him up into the Hollywood Hills. Through a winding driveway. To a mansion in Beverly Hills. The gate shut behind him. The click echoed louder than it should have. His phone was taken at the door. No cameras allowed. But there were plenty watching. Inside. It wasn't a party. It was a setup. Lights too low. No music. No laughter. No champagne. Just soft voices. Scattered groups whispering. Security in every corner. Like they were guarding something. Or someone. Then came the rooms. Unmarked doors. Some barely open. And behind them. Sounds. Strange ones. Things Cube didn't want to imagine. He saw familiar faces, celebrities. But they didn't look like themselves. Some were dazed. Some scared. Some looked like they didn't even know where they were. Then came the moment that changed everything. Cube turned a corner, and saw someone. A man he admired. A giant in the industry. Slumped on a couch. Eyes open. Blank. And across from him. A camera. Recording. Silent. Watching. That was it. Cube left. No questions. No goodbyes. Got in the car. He stayed silent the whole ride back. But the next day, his phone rang. No ID. No greeting. Just one line. We saw you leave. That was all. No follow-up. No threat. But Cube didn't need one. He understood. That night stayed with me, he told the court. It changed how I saw the industry. That wasn't a party. That was a trap. He turned toward Diddy. Calm. Controlled. You didn't just ruin lives, he said. You filmed them first. The courtroom was silent. Even Diddy's lawyer, usually quick to object, was whispering frantically in his ear. But Diddy didn't move. Jaw locked. Face pale. Staring at nothing. Because this time, he wasn't behind the cameras. And this time, the footage was metaphorical. But the damage? Real. Cube wasn't finished. Not even close. They didn't just try to silence Jamie Foxx, he said. They tried to erase him. He explained to the jury. In Hollywood, silence isn't optional. It's enforced. Not with threats. But with strategy. First, the roles dried up. Then the meetings were cancelled. Projects disappeared. Longtime collaborators stopped answering his calls. Cube pulled out a document, a calendar of Jamie's scheduled work from 2019 to 2021. On the surface, just a dry spell. But then Cube highlighted a pattern. A string of cancellations, all tied to companies with links to Bad Boy, Revolt, or one of Diddy's many corporate arms. Cube let the silence sit. That was the proof. Then came the gossip. Whispers. Blogs claiming Jamie was unstable, unpredictable. He wasn't losing it, Cube said. He was freeing himself. And they didn't like that. Then came the health scare. Cube paused. Looked down. You really think that was natural? He asked. A man in peak condition just collapses. Right after he starts speaking up. He didn't point fingers. But his tone did. He said Jamie had been offered chances to come back. Deals. Appearances. Press tours. All he had to do was play the game. But Jamie refused. And that's when it escalated. That's when the clone rumors started. People questioned everything. Is Jamie alive? Is that really him in the photos? Why is he avoiding the public? Cube didn't call it a conspiracy. He called it a tactic. That's what they do, he said. They take you apart, until even your fans don't know what's real anymore. Then his tone sharpened. This ain't about music, he said. It's not even about parties. It's about control. He looked each juror in the eye. Then toward the prosecution. They don't just shape what we listen to, he said. They shape what we believe. What we fear. Who we follow. He paused. Hollywood's not an industry, he said. It's a machine. Engineered to take real trauma, real identity. And sell it back as entertainment. And then he dropped the line that made the room shudder. The same people who push prison music, own the prisons. That's what Tupac was trying to warn us about. Before they silenced him. Before he got too political. Before he started naming names. And just like that. This trial wasn't about Diddy anymore. It was about everyone who stayed quiet. Everyone who enabled him. Everyone who helped build the machine. The judge asked Cube if he had any final words. He didn't hesitate. He stepped down from the stand. Walked to the center of the courtroom. Looked Diddy dead in the eye. You built a kingdom out of other people's silence, he said. You called it success. But it was slavery. You didn't throw parties. You built prisons. Emotional ones. Psychological ones. And you filled them with people who thought they were being celebrated. But were really being watched. Controlled. Used. Then he said. You broke people. And then. You filmed it. Cube turned to the gallery. To every artist watching, every new kid trying to break in. Understand this. Before they give you the keys to your dream, they'll ask for something back. Your voice. Your dignity. Sometimes, everything. He paused. Looked around. And by the time you realize what you gave up, it's already too late. Then Cube said something he hadn't said all day. I was scared. I stayed quiet because I thought if I didn't say anything, I'd be left alone. He turned to the jury. But silence doesn't protect you. It just delays the damage. Then, plainly, silence makes you a collaborator. He pulled out a photo. This was me. 1991. Bright-eyed. Thought I could change the game. He held it high. Then tore it in half. That version of me didn't make it. But the one standing here now, he's not afraid of any of you anymore. The courtroom was dead silent. Cube returned to the stand. Placed the torn photo down. Then looked at the judge. I don't know what you'll do with all this. But now, you can't say you didn't hear it. He turned to Diddy one last time. You thought no one would speak up. You thought everyone was bought, buried. But the silence is broken now. And the door you locked for so long, it's wide open. And just before he left the courtroom, he turned back, just slightly, and said, they didn't kill Jamie. They didn't kill me. They just made us louder. And with that, he was gone. But what he left behind wasn't just testimony. It was a reckoning. And the storm it unleashed, no one in that room will ever forget it.